Once upon a time, nestled in a quiet village, there stood a big, beautiful garden. It belonged to a giant who lived all alone in a tall stone castle right next to it. This garden wasn't just any garden. It was truly magical. Imagine soft green grass, like a velvet carpet, tall fruit trees heavy with sweet apples, and a rainbow of flowers filling the air with a delightful perfume. Birds loved to sing their hearts out in the branches, and butterflies danced playfully in the warm sunlight. Every afternoon, while the giant was away, children from the village would sneak into this paradise to play. They'd run through the flowers, scramble up the trees, and fill the air with their happy laughter. It was their secret, special place. But one day, after 7 long years visiting his friend, a Cornish ogre, the giant returned. As he approached his castle, he saw the children playing in his beloved garden. His face turned red with rage. "What are you all doing here?" he bellowed in a voice that shook the ground. "This is my garden. I will not allow anyone to play here but myself." Terrified, the children scattered and ran for their lives. The selfish giant immediately set to work. He built a high imposing wall all around the garden and put up a large sign that read, "Trespassers will be punished." Now the poor children had nowhere beautiful to play. The streets were dusty and filled with sharp stones. They would often walk sadly around the tall, cold wall, dreaming of the fun they once had inside. Soon, spring arrived, painting the rest of the country in vibrant colors. Trees sprouted new leaves, flowers burst into bloom, and birds sang joyful tunes. But in the giant's garden, it was still winter. Icy winds howled. A thick blanket of snow covered the ground, and frost coated the tree branches like silver paint. No birds came to sing, and not a single flower dared to bloom. The giant couldn't understand it. He'd often look out his window and wonder, why is spring so late in coming? He didn't realize it was his own selfishness that had locked his garden in an endless winter. The snow and the frost were delighted. "This garden is all ours now," they declared. They danced on the grass, and the north wind blew relentlessly all day long. Weeks turned into months. Spring and summer came and went everywhere else, but the giant's garden remained frozen in time. Autumn brought golden fruits to every other garden, but the giant's trees stayed barren. "He is too selfish," Autumn whispered and hurried on by. Then, one morning, something wonderful happened. The giant, lying awake in bed, heard a sound he hadn't heard in so long, the beautiful song of a little bird. He leapt out of bed and rushed to the window. What he saw was astounding. Through a small hole in the wall, some children had crept in. They were sitting in the trees and playing happily. And with them, spring had returned. The trees were covered in blossoms, birds were fluttering about, and flowers were peeking up from the grass. But in one far corner of the garden, a small boy stood crying. He was too tiny to climb the tree in front of him. The tree, seeing his tears, bent its branches down as low as it could, but he was still too little to reach. Seeing this, the giant's heart finally melted. "How selfish I have been," he whispered to himself. "I will put that poor little boy on the tree, and then I will tear down the wall. My garden will be the children's playground forever." He went downstairs and quietly opened the door. But when the children saw him, they got scared and ran away. Instantly, winter returned to the garden. Only the little boy didn't run. His eyes were so full of tears that he didn't see the giant approaching. The giant gently came up behind him, lifted him up, and placed him carefully in the tree. At once, the tree burst into blossom, and the birds began to sing again. The little boy was so happy that he wrapped his arms around the giant's neck and gave him a kiss. When the other children saw that the giant was no longer wicked, they came running back, and with them, spring returned for good. The giant took a great axe and broke down the wall. "My dear children," he announced, "from now on, this is your garden." Every afternoon, the children came to play, and the giant played right alongside them. He became their best friend, and they loved him dearly. But the little boy, whom the giant had first helped, was never seen again. The giant often asked, "Where is my little friend?" But no one knew. Years went by. The giant grew old and weak. He could no longer play, so he would sit in a big armchair and watch the children. His heart filled with joy. His garden was always brimming with life, laughter, and love. One winter morning, the giant looked out and saw a marvelous sight. In the farthest corner of the garden stood a tree covered with lovely white blossoms and hanging with golden fruit. And underneath it stood the little boy he had missed for so long. The giant rushed out, his heart soaring with joy. "Where have you been all this time?" he cried. "I have missed you so much." The boy smiled kindly. "You let me play in your garden once," he said softly. "Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise." Later that day, when the children ran in to play, they found the giant lying peacefully under the tree, covered in white blossoms. He had a gentle smile on his face, and the entire garden was bathed in a beautiful golden light. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales that warm the soul. See you next time.